Hi everyone, welcome to Valley View Living. If you're new here, my name is Megan and we live out in the country in New South Wales, Australia on a small property here, and we are trying to grow as much food as we can. And in the meantime, we're definitely cooking a lot of food. So welcome if you're new, and if you're a regular, welcome back. I'm going to get started this morning in trying to get prepared for lunch. It's school holidays and we're going to enjoy them by heading out for a drive to a national park and just spending some time out in the forest this morning. So I want to make sure that when we get back we can still have some kind of hot, nourishing, filling lunch. Though I'm certainly not adverse to an easy lunch like sandwiches using sourdough bread and some good toppings, or even just a salad on some days. This was very simple for me to just put in the oven first thing in the morning. It is a cut from our home-raised beef, and I think it is a blade roast. So I'm just going to put that in the oven quite low, 150. I've put some chicken broth around it, just in the hopes that it won't dry out too much, because I don't actually cover it while it's in the oven. I don't have a Dutch oven at this point, which I suppose I could just put entirely in the oven. It would be closed in and that would be ideal. Or a slow cooker that I can plug in separately on my benchtop. I have to admit, I'm a bit of a minimalist. The fewer items that I own, it means the less I have to take care of. And I don't want to spend undue time caring for things. So if I feel like an investment like a slow cooker or an instant pot is going to be worth it, that's something I might work towards. But at this point, just bunging it in the oven for a few hours on a very low heat is working out just fine for me. So I'm not putting the beginnings for a gravy in with this pot, because when we get back, I'm actually just going to whip up a really quick pan gravy, and that's because I have chicken broth that I need to use up. I have made this from some drumsticks we had last week. I've simmered the broth down with some veggies and just stored the broth in my fridge. And I have made a soup from some of it, but I've still got a good litre here that I need to use up. So using that for a homemade gravy is going to be perfect and delicious. In fact, it's an awesome way to make sure that my kids, my whole family are going to enjoy this meal, is if I can make a tasty gravy to put over the meat. Now, I also want to get a head start with dinner, or at least get a plan formulated. So I'm going to go ahead and make a dough. I'm whipping up some spelt flour pizza bases here. Now, if we decide we want something else for dinner, I don't have to use the pizza bases today, but they're done and I can use them for lunch tomorrow or dinner another time. But if I've got this made and resting here at home through the day, that's sort of my backup for dinner. So a bit of a change of pace today. I know usually we hang around the farm together and we get some of the farm chores done. Today I'm going to take you out along with us for a drive to a national park. And I'll take you for a look around what it's like to go for a bushwalk in New South Wales, Australia. This is in the far south, and we're just going to drive through the farmlands and head out into the bush. We have had some beautiful weather recently, mid-20s and sunny blue skies. I have to say it is a bit dry at the moment. I would like a little bit more rain. Watering the garden, that's for sure, filling the water tanks, but I don't know. I've heard all kinds of rumours that we're in for a dry summer, so what can I do about that? Just got to enjoy what we've got, I suppose, and yeah, try to keep the gardens watered. I love the national forests here in Australia. I just think they are so beautiful, relaxing, just life-giving places that I find just give me such a sense of peace and joy. And my kids are more, they're kids. They're active, busy, young kids. They much prefer going to the beach where they can jump in the waves and just build in the sand and be part of that full-on active, stuff. Me, no, I'm totally happy with a deserted national forest, parkland. Come out, check out the view, just be around all the trees and nature. And if you're lucky, you'll see something. Like around here, there are so many wombats that we have wombat crossing signs on the road. And this is actually a place that used to be densely populated with koalas as well. Unfortunately, there is a real plummet in numbers of koalas over the last few decades. But it's still a beautiful, lovely place, and I definitely scan the treetops with my fingers crossed every time. So we just spent an hour hanging out, exploring a bit, just looking around together. And this was actually new since our last visit. We have had some very windy days. It's spring here, and that's very normal for this region. And this huge gum had come down at some point over the past few weeks. Now, this is why they say to never take shelter under a gum tree in a storm. You would not want to be under that when it came down, that's for sure. But it was so interesting to have a look and see the new habitat that it had created in coming down and leaving that log in the forest. You can see that it's just created this amazing space for all our native animals to move in. And you can just really imagine that as a den for a wombat or a quoll or something like that. So that was really cool. We took some time to have just a quick morning tea snack, and then we're just going to hit the road, head home, and get on with our day. I find myself more and more just wanting to pause time and just keep this moment, keep everything where it's at, and just sort of lock it away and be able to revisit it whenever I want my whole life, right? Because I have all my kids at home with me. We have 6 children, and we have from toddlers through to mid-teens, and I can just feel these days changing as they go, and way too fast for me. I love watching my children grow into teenagers and seeing that there'll be young adults coming up real soon here. I love seeing them really develop into their personalities and who they are as people. It is honestly a privilege to watch that, but we won't always be together under the same roof, and it is bittersweet to think about a time when, look, I try to tell myself, of course my kids will always want to hang out with me and my husband. Sure, of course they will. But it's just not the same, is it? They'll want to prioritize their friends and their own families and their jobs and their further study, all that good stuff that is just a part of becoming an adult and standing on your own 2 feet, growing your own life. But I sure am going to miss this time. I want to try to live consciously in it right now while I have them here with me. Now we've come home and I've done nothing but leave that roast cooking in the oven while we were out for several hours. And we are now going to whip up a pan gravy. My son here is helping me. So simple. Just a tablespoon of butter, a little bit of flour into a roux, and then we're going to pour in our chicken broth until it is a beautiful texture and consistency, whisking away to make sure it doesn't get lumpy. Season it with salt and pepper, and that's it. That's our beautiful, simple pan gravy, which you can serve over anything that it will taste good over. Chicken, beef, sausages, roast, steak, potatoes. This is so versatile. So you can see that my chicken broth has completely evaporated, and times like this I love my dishwasher. It really gives me a hand with all the inevitable burning onto pans that I do as a cook in the kitchen. Hey, I'm just a mum doing my best here. But the beef came out lovely. It had cooked down well, out drying out, which was great. It was sort of right on the edge there, so I'm glad we came home when we did, got straight into lunch. I'm also going to do just some simple carbs for my kids because I've been out. I'm not going to be able to make potatoes or any kind of roast veggies, but I'm going to boil some pasta. It is just mostly for the kids. I don't feel that I need a carb at lunchtime so much, but there are definitely little kids do want that. I'm going to whip up this really simple salad dressing because now that it is warming up, And we have salad available for sale locally as well. I am finding that I just want one every day. And having this homemade dressing, which is just made from staples I keep in the pantry at all times, makes it easy to make a salad that tastes good no matter what I've got to add to it. So it's just equal parts mustard, and I'm sure you could use a better quality mustard than I've got. I've just got the squeezy yellow mustard. Equal parts of the mustard, some and honey and olive oil and apple cider vinegar to taste. You can increase or decrease whatever tastes better to you. I find that I like a little less ACV in this mix because that is quite an acidic mustard. And then plenty of salt just to balance all those flavors and make it taste really good when it's poured over your salad. And that is a really simple honey mustard dressing that will keep in the fridge all week for your salads. And would it even be me? Would this be my channel if I was not adding lashings of butter onto this freshly cooked pasta for my kiddos? Then I'm just going to dish up. We've got the slow cooker beef. We have our pan gravy, salad here with dressing, and for anybody who wants it, pasta. And of course, you know that I prefer a low stress style with meals, so I make sure I've cooked something for every member of my family. All 8 of us will eat some combination of the food that I've provided, and that just means that nobody gets bent out of shape around a meal. Nobody is left hungry, of course, but I don't have to make something different for someone who doesn't like what I've made. So if they don't feel like the beef and the salad, they can have pasta. No sweat. Do you find that your cooking changes seasonally? Do you crave different foods? Do your family enjoy different meals during the different times of year? I mean, I think most of us naturally do, don't we? Because at least here in Australia, we have harsh seasons, and in the height of summer, it is not as pleasant to be standing over your stove during those hot days, up high 20s, low 30s. Or if you live in some of the hotter regions in Australia, mid to high 30 degrees is very common as well. So we don't really want to be turning on the oven, heating up the house, doing those kinds of activities. My plan for this summer, when also I want to be spending a lot of time in the garden and working towards food production and taking care of our animals and just doing things with my kids as well, I would really like to take the time one day a week on a weekend, I suppose, and roast or poach or boil up some extra protein so that we can use that as lunch meat during the week and just have that, sensibly stored in the fridge in a way that it will keep for several days or throughout the week well, and just always make sure I'm stocking fresh salad items. At the moment, we're not eating those off the property. I have a real slug and snail problem, so I'm going to have to isolate where I grow leafy greens. So if you have any tips or experience for me of what I could be cooking up on a weekend that will last really well and be easy and flexible to serve throughout the week with salads, I would love to hear from you. That is something I have not managed into my routine yet, but I think it would go a long way towards alleviating lunchtime stress. And at this point, I have got teens who are still doing homeschool. They're considering attending high school in the coming year, which I'd totally support them towards. And of course, then there's also TAFE and uni to look at in years to come. So I really have to be spending a couple of hours focused time tutoring them during many days of the week. I don't want to be stressed about providing lunch as well during that time. So if you have any pointers for me in a great lunch meat that would keep well, let me know, link me to recipes, and just give me that guidance. I would love that. So this afternoon now we're going to head out, spend some time with the cows. We've got a full moon coming out here over the property this afternoon, and we're just going to, I don't know, be outside because it's gorgeous. It feels like summer is just around the corner, which it is really. We've got 6 weeks left of spring basically, and then it will start warming up. So I'm just enjoying the temperance of these seasons. These in-between seasons are so enjoyable to be outside during. And we've just hit daylight savings here, which means the clocks have gone forward an hour, and I'm finding I really have to hit the ground running to make sure that I am organized and prepared and get the things done that I need to do during the mornings, because before I know it, it is midday and the day is half over. Now, we're going to go ahead and whip up these pizzas for dinner tonight. This is always a hit. Everybody's happy with a couple of hot pizzas fresh out of the oven. I've got that Spelt pizza dough rising. It's been rising during the day. I also have a few odds and ends of different cheeses here in the fridge. Now, I haven't purchased anything specifically for this pizza. I'm just using the kinds of things that are always stocked in our cupboard and fridge, which is tinned pineapple. We have some ham left over from our last shopping trip, and I'm going to use up this parmesan, this cheddar, and also some feta and make like a 4-cheese pizza. Other than that, we'll go with what is always a hit with my kids, the tinned pineapple, and these last pieces of ham will go nicely to make a Hawaiian pizza. And then for my husband and I will go with some whole black olives and whatever kind of veggies I can rustle up out of this fridge at the moment. Farm-wise, and here is my warning to more sensitive viewers who aren't so much into the production of meat here at home, but our piglets are now getting to a stage where they will be butchered shortly. Now, this is something my husband and I would really like to learn the skills of how to do this at home. Now, what we have been doing is hiring a home butcher, and that is such a fantastic way to handle the butchering of your own meat at home. They are professional and they are experienced, and it's always about minimizing stress on the animal and just making sure things are as swift and done as quickly and cleanly as possible, which really speaks to our ethics of trying to minimize any issues with our livestock. Unfortunately, though, the cost is prohibitive. I shouldn't say unfortunately. I mean, this is a skilled trade and they're worth every cent. But unfortunately for our budget, it just starts to add up when you are feeding a large family, and pigs are not huge animals, or at least the pigs that we are butchering when we do, they are not that large. They don't yield sort of a huge amount of meat, maybe just 2 to 3 months worth maximum. So that means it's an ongoing expense. And if it is a skill that we can learn at home so that we can utilize those funds that would have gone to the butcher in other ways, then of course that's something that we would like to do. Now, for me personally, I don't want to have anything to do with dispatching my livestock even so much with butchering it, I just don't have any interest in that. And that's where it's wonderful to have a team, I suppose, where somebody else is fine doing those kinds of things. And I love cooking the meat. So we are still a team, and I am spared having to do those kinds of duties. To be perfectly honest, raising my own meat for the table is something that I just continue to find quite confronting. And I don't know where I'm going to end up with that as I go along. Maybe one day I would just be vegetarian. I don't know. Right now, our bodies thrive off the nutrients that we get from our livestock, so this is where we're at. Now, I have actually been preheating the oven to its very highest heat, and I've actually placed my pizza trays in there to heat up as well, just to try and give the dough a better chance at cooking all the way through and being crisp on the bottom. And I found that that did help the pizza to turn out even better. So I was really happy with that. And the other tip I have for nice crispy crust is to put olive oil down on your crust first before you put the sauce on top. Both of those things help me. Thanks for hanging out with me today as we get all the things done that we need to do. We've gotten them a good, filling lunch and dinner. We've taken a nice holiday outing, and it's been a good day. If you've enjoyed the content, please do like, comment, or subscribe, and I really appreciate you being here. Bye.